Unless you're on a public street. Privacy is on a public street.
Okay. Call to order the February 24th Communications Committee. Roll call, please.
Carrie Weggie.
Here.
Craig Pennington is absent. Alderman Plufka.
Here.
Here.
Rod Wright.
Yes.
Alderman Gould.
Here. All right. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. Has everybody had a chance to look at the agenda before the meeting, and any issues or changes that you'd like to see before? Okay. Having heard that, then we'll approve the agenda as it stands by acclamation. Next up on the agenda is the citizen comments. So anybody online?
No.
Okay. I will close citizen comments then. Get into report of the committee chair and members. I have no report. Alderman Plufka? No report. Carrie Weggie?
No report.
Lois Truman?
No report.
And Rod Wright? Any report?
No.
Okay. All right, next on there is a city administrator report. It doesn't look like you have one.
No
Okay.
report.
All right, thank you. Let's get into the department report. We have some analytics and profile performance to review. Michelle, are you taking that?
Yes, so you will see the attached analytics report. Starting with the e-newsletter, I did want to just let you know that I am following up on some of the questions that were asked specifically about the newsletter. I don't have tons of information about that yet, but I am looking into things like our distribution list, where that list originated from, what that list is comprised of. So I hope to have some more information on that for you in the near future.
And are we able to, I don't know that we are, but I know you said that you have here that it can break down by country and state.
Yes.
But do you know within Missouri, do you know the
No,
counties or
I
anything?
wasn't able to
Yeah.
determine the counties.
Yeah.
But I am going to reach out to MailChimp and just see if there is something that maybe I'm missing
Okay.
and determine if that's a possibility. But yeah, as you can see, our highest percentage of opens occurred in California, which was very interesting, followed by Missouri, which is what we would hope for. So again, it would be really interesting to kind of see if I could find a breakdown of the counties and things like that, so we could figure that out. And this was something that Craig had brought up at the previous meeting, but about the A/B testing, to kind of give us a little more insight into what works versus different audiences and things like that. So that's something that I need to look into a little bit further. And I'm also working with MailChimp to determine how our original sign-up sheet was developed. That's the sheet that on the website people click on and they fill out their information, and then it goes back to MailChimp and they're added to our distribution list. So I'm trying to determine how I can go in there and maybe add some fields, things like that. So a lot's in flux right now with the newsletter. I'm just going to continue on with the efforts of researching and gathering information, and we'll have more to report on for that. In terms of social media, you can kind of see the full breakdown. Everything's looking pretty good. Over the last month, we've seen pretty continuous growth. And then I've added the links to the popular posts, our most engaged with posts that occurred over the last couple of months. Our visibility has increased over the last month or so. We're continuing to work on those different engagement tools and see what works, what doesn't. There's a lot of potential there for video, and I'm really hoping to kind of give myself a day in the near future, once the weather cooperates, to go around the city and just kind of gather some B-roll video that I can then utilize kind of in an evergreen fashion. And then focusing on kind of the e-newsletters distribution list and how we can optimize that.
Great. I did notice, I don't know if you follow Webster Groves, but it seems like they're posting a lot of video now. And even what I thought was interesting was a lot of the video that they're posting is, they'll have somebody from their public works or somebody from their police department describing what's going on in in the city, whether it's a road construction or something like that. And I thought that was a nice,
I like to think they were inspired by our 60 seconds with staff.
I'm sure they
videos.
were. I'm sure they were.
But
We can all just keep,
exactly.
one
It is-
upping each other.
It's very helpful to see what other cities are doing because we're all kind of in this together, and so we're all kind of feeding off of what everyone else is doing. So, the group that I'm in that is comprised of regional communicators is extremely helpful. Everyone's constantly emailing with questions and things like that. What's your city doing? So it's really helpful, and yeah. But I like to think that maybe we're a little bit of inspiration for that. And like I said, as the weather improves, I really would like to start focusing on, giving some background information on projects that people are going to see around the city occurring that people may have questions about. So stay tuned for that.
Sounds good, yeah. Any other questions from you all?
I think that's great.
Lois, turn on your mic.
I think it's great that we are giving follow-up on our events, and that is really kind of waking people up, whatever. So along with that, I hope we can also find a way to equally share what is upcoming, which I think is also greatly improved. The upcoming events and even the shredding and
Yes.
everything that the city is doing. So I think that's all moving in a very good direction.
That's a priority for me is I've been meeting with department heads to gather their events that they know about, their projects, their things like that. So I'm creating a year-long calendar for myself so that anything that they may need communication support on, whether it be social media posts, some verbiage written, is already on my radar so that when those unexpected things pop up, we're at least prepared for the things we knew were coming. So, that's one of the things that's a real priority for me.
Great. Anything else? I know you have LinkedIn performance here, but there's nothing really to touch on that, right? Okay. So anything else in that report?
I don't think so.
Okay. Consent agenda is the next item on the agenda. Has anybody had a chance to review the meeting minutes? And I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right. Motion passes. Let's move on to old business. First up, we've got the RFQ on the crisis call, on-call crisis communications.
Yes, so we issued this RFQ back in December and it closed on January 15th. We received 3 submissions, bid submittals, and a review committee reviewed all of the submissions, and we went forward and interviewed 2 of those submissions. And after the interviews and deliberations, discussions, we are recommending that we move forward with Robin Frankel, PR, as the city's on-call crisis communications consultant. And this is someone that will just be a bit of a sounding board, an advice giver in the event that something occurs that, we'll be able to call in real time and work with.
Okay. And then, Bola, can you give some context? We've had to pull in a consultant a couple of times, right? It's not something we have.
In 14 years, twice.
Twice, okay. So it's not something we feel will be
No.
a significant, hopefully. So that was my question when I was looking at it, whether or not, obviously, Robin is a sole proprietor, doesn't have a lot, I just didn't know how many, when you've talked with her, how many other clients, and whether or not, if a need came up, do we feel confident that she'll be able to address that
She
need
has
quickly?
a group of basically backups that she has confidence in, that should she be unable to work with us directly, she has a list of people who then she would recommend that we work with, who she has worked with on a regular basis.
Okay, great. And then, and I'll open it up to the rest of the committee, but does this need full board approval? Okay,
Agreement does.
okay. Anybody else have a question? Sorry, go ahead.
Thanks. So looking at the worksheet or the tally sheet,
Mm-hmm.
the real separation here seemed to be the rate.
It was, I mean, there is a rate difference, but we interviewed both Raf Tellis and Robin Frankel, and what it really came down to was the level of support that we felt we would be receiving in real time when a crisis was occurring. Raf Tellis's focus was more on training prior to an event occurring, whereas Robin Frankel is on the ground, able to assist in real time when something is occurring. She's local, and that
Which is helpful.
is also a huge benefit.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I was going to add, I've known of Robin and know her a little bit for a long time. I think she's outstanding. I think she's perfect. I was delighted to see her name when I read through the minutes, so not that my opinion is worth that all that much, but I really like her.
I think she'll be a really good asset to the city.
Great. Well,
Hopefully, we'll never have to use her.
I guess unless there's other comments or questions for clarification, I would entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of Robin Frankel, Public Relations, and forward on to the full board for review.
I make a motion to approve Robin Frankel. I don't know how much of that I need to say
The rest of that.
for the crisis,
On-call crisis
on-call
communication.
crisis, yes.
A second.
All right, wonderful. Voice vote or roll call? Roll call?
I think voice vote is fine.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, the ayes have it. Thank you very much, that's great. Move on to item 2, which is the logo and branding initiative.
Yes, so again, this RFQ was issued in December and was closed on January 15th. We received a total of 22 submissions, which was a incredible success. My review committee did have the chance to review them. We have chosen to move forward with interviewing a number of them, which will occur next week.
Okay,
So I anticipate having more to report, hopefully a recommendation at our next committee meeting.
okay, and then how, so you've got a smaller committee and do they do individual interviews? Is it a group interview with each candidate?
So my whole review committee will be and we will interview each of the shortlisted
Okay,
firms.
okay, and how many shortlists just roughly do you think you had?
6.
6 out of
We
the
have
22?
6 interviews,
Okay,
yes.
great.
All right, is anybody, who's on that group, that committee, who's in that group that's going to do the interviews?
It's Eric Gruenfelder, Jim McIntyre, Brad Barbeau, Sophie Spade, and Dan Gummersheimer, and myself.
And you?
Yeah.
No, not you?
And Octavia, I'm sorry.
I meet
and
with
Yeah. Octavia is also on the
Michelle
review committee.
afterwards and
Yes.
discuss.
Okay,
So is there any idea that maybe we should have somebody from this committee sitting in on those interviews as well?
I think that's,
I mean, is anybody, I just throw it out there as a suggestion.
That's not to say
Well,
we shouldn't do it, but
no,
we've just never done that.
No, and I take that point. I just thought that one of the concerns I had with Ref Tellis and the way that it went through the process was that it came to this committee with sort of decisions already baked in, and the committee, I don't know, participated that much in the process. And I just was looking for a way, I'm not suggesting I should be on that committee myself. I'm just saying that maybe we would benefit from having some kind of presence from this committee, somebody who's not a city employee, just to be in the room and to be able to give a rationale when we do discuss the 6 that have been interviewed.
You know what we can do so that there is a clear separation is if you want, we can have them all, we can have you all interview them as well in this committee meeting if you want.
I'm not trying to make more work for you. I'm just-
interview the
The
short
top
list?
2, the top 3,
We could
rather
narrow
than
it
the
down
6.
further from the 6, maybe to a final 3,
that maybe is a good idea.
and bring that. And we're, much like we did with the crisis communications, we would make all of the RFQs that were submitted available for your review, and as with any presentation, you have the opportunity to vote on the recommendation that we
Yeah,
would
I mean,
make.
I think your point is well received as far as we want to make sure that we're getting this set up and started in the right way. I definitely don't want to create more layers of delay to get even to that point. But I think having, whether it's the full committee or having a representative from the committee that is able to just maybe have some eyes on the selection and part of the interview process is an interesting way forward, but, well, go ahead. Sure.
So of the 6 that you're contemplating, are they local, are they regional?
About half and half.
And so the ones that are out of town, will they actually come in person or will they do by Zoom?
For the interviews, it's virtual.
Okay.
If they're in town and they've expressed interest in coming in person, we're willing to do it that way. But for the interviews, we're not expecting them to travel for it.
So how hard logistically would it be if the committee, if your group that you just described interviews the 6 and makes a recommendation as to the top 2 or 3, and then figuring out whether those top 2 or 3 would be willing to be here either by Zoom at the next meeting? If committee members had questions that they wanted, they could see their proposal, they could read whatever the interviews produced in terms of feedback, that tally score or, whatever kind of method you wanted to use. But it would be an opportunity for members of the committee to ask direct questions and kind of weigh in on, because I'm assuming after the 3, we get down to the 3, that the staff is going to make a recommendation as to who we think, or who you think we ought to recommend for hire.
That,
Well, based on what you've said, we cannot do that. We can just say these are the shortlisted and bring that to you all, and then you all can decide.
Well, okay.
I mean, I don't think that's your intent, right? You're not intending to take away authority of staff. I think you're just intending to be able to have an ability or a sounding board of this committee before that might help frame or even confirm the conversation that staff is having.
Because what if there's questions that are asked by the committee that are questions that the staff didn't think of asking, or that they got responses from the final 3 that were not anticipated or not expected, and maybe that influences staff's ultimate recommendation?
And you know what, that happens, and I think those are valid comments, but because it's our process, we can extend it if we feel the need to. Even when staff brings things to you and you feel that you're not getting the kind of response you want to a particular question, we can go back and bring them back in and say, hey, these are, and I think you went through that process last week. So there is flexibility in our process. It's not final at any point in time.
Sure. Just like this, as crisis communication, we could have said no,
Absolutely.
I guess it's just avoiding that feeling like we don't want to look like we're going against a recommendation of staff at a certain level if there was a way to avoid that or have more confidence in the recommendation.
I wouldn't worry about that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's good conversation to have. I don't know if there's necessarily an action that you're needing with it.
We've heard you.
Yeah.
So I think what we need to do is to put it in writing and send it to the committee to make sure that what we heard is what you really intend, and then include that in your process.
Go ahead, Ray.
I guess the concern I have is not so much who gets picked, but what happens after that, and making sure that what we don't have happen is that we end up with something that looks like it was designed by a committee that takes something that's really clean and nice, and then way too many people have input on it, and we end up with, well, why don't we add a few trees, and why don't we add some stuff across the top? And
100%, yeah.
you can make something that could have been a good logo not a good logo by what a friend of mine and colleague used to call by making it pizza with everything, just adding too much to it. And, that's going to take some discipline on somebody's part. It's going to take somebody, in my view at least, that says no. We can't do that because it'll junk it up.
So once the recommendation is made, the role of the committee ends. The role of the panel, rather, that helped in the review process ends.
Right.
then it becomes Michelle and this committee. And so I think instead of you, and maybe you all want to read all 22, but I think that if we're able to narrow it down, then you have less to read. And we've used, in terms of the review so far, we've used, what do you call the template,
The
Alderman?
brief that Alderman
The
Gould
brief that you
created as
created
a
has been
guideline.
used in part of the review process. So you read their proposal, and then you get an opportunity to react to it. Do you like what they propose? Do you like the manner in which they propose? Do you like how they want to engage with the public before they get to the final document? I think you have a lot of latitude to say, we don't like this, we want you to include this, which a little different maybe from the last one. So there's a lot of involvement for you if you choose to do that.
No, and I realize that we're actually a step before the concern that you're raising, which is a valid concern, but we're actually the step before that. We're talking about choosing the company that is then gonna come up with a formula by way of how they're gonna, you know, discern a branding for the city. And that's the point at which, you know, the notion of, well, too many people involved leads to a logo that nobody really cares for. I was just talking about in the process of, and I guess, you know, now that we've talked it through a little bit, I wonder if it's not a function of just providing the committee your rationale as to who you think would be best, providing
You'll have all of that available, just like you did for the crisis communications. And our recommendation will fully outline why we have chosen to recommend that firm.
Yeah, I'm comfortable, and then just so the committee's aware, you know, since I do branding and marketing for, you know, my profession, I did provide some examples of creative brief and some framework of how to evaluate good branding and other. So I did provide that to the team, and so that's what she's referring to. And so I think with that, I think we're starting out already with some influence and some good, in the good steps forward. I have faith that the committee, that the selection committee that has been chosen is probably looking at things in a different way than they did for when we were looking at it, the strategy.
right.
Yeah.
Terrific. Okay.
I'm just curious about the trivial question about how many on that committee live in Brentwood?
None.
None.
But they work for.
They work for Brentwood, and I understand you don't have to be a resident, but there may be, I mean, I don't know if there might be, I guess that's at our, when it would come to our direction if we saw something that was not,
I'm sorry to interrupt.
didn't jive up with what we hear from residents or something, that would be the time.
That's part of the process after we've agreed on, after we've determined is that public engagement part. Engagement with residents is a portion of that.
Yeah, this is about speaking, or selecting who we think the partner is, the consultant, the partner that has the best capabilities and within our budgetary range and within the scope of what we're looking to do to actually produce the quality of work that we want with the process that we need, which would include public engagement and this committee's involvement. So this is just the first step of selecting who we think is the best partner, and then the process begins of actually doing the work.
I'll clarify, I didn't mean the selectees that we're doing, I meant on the committee that's doing the selecting.
Yeah.
That was all I meant.
Right. It's
But
purely
it's all
staff.
one and the same really at this point. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, those folks are staff who would be working with this company the most. And then I think what they're saying is that if we as residents see things maybe a little bit differently in the selections that they've done, we have the opportunity at the next meeting when they bring forward all the selection, and we see access to all of the other submissions, we'd be able to, if we felt like there was a resident lever that was missing, we could voice that. Okay. Good robust discussion about it. Any other comments on that before we close? All right, seeing none. Moving on, it doesn't look like we have any new business. Citizen comments? Anybody online? Okay. With seeing no further business, this meeting is adjourned.